this video is about how to scale up to 100K projects. So today what I want to talk about is a couple of things. One of the things I want to talk about is I want to talk about positioning. I think positioning is very overlooked by a lot of creative people. I think because we're so focused on telling everybody else's story, or we're telling we're building up other people's visual brand, is that we neglect our own. And I think there is a massive risk there to you in terms of what you could be doing versus what you are doing. And I think when I look at creative people that come into cloud, for instance, the first thing I'm looking at is where are they positioned? What is their specific person they're going after, and what kind of problems are they solving? But the biggest thing that we need to understand with positioning is it all leads to one thing and one thing only, and that is your offer. Your offer is everything that will differentiate you as a creative person. This is the number one thing that's going to help you get from point A to point B. But positioning comes in is when a lot of filmmakers actually want to attract higher level clients, right? Or what I call high status clients with significant revenue, they have resources, they're also industry leaders. We want to be able to attract them type of clients. Now them type of clients that we want typically like to be put shoulder to shoulder to other high status vendors, other high status people. And so the risk that we have by not putting together a high status brand, or even being able to eat our own dog food, so to speak, is that we don't get seen, we don't get differentiated, we look like a commodity, and it's really hard to win higher level clients. Now, as we all know, and I think most of the internet knows this, is that we are moving from a attention-based economy to a trust-based economy, and that force is literally coming from AI. I think technology and social behavior is really playing a part, and that's what's bringing this new economy in, which is where people just don't trust what they see online. You know, we're seeing people like Donald Trump walking on Brooklyn Bridge, you know, dressed as doing fucking dances, and it all looks very real, and the trust is getting decimated, right? And authenticity, or what I would say, what is real is getting more and more tricky. And I think that's going to change the style of content that filmmakers produce. I think it's going to have to be a lot more, and it doesn't matter, when I say genre, I mean we have to humanize more, right? Now it doesn't matter whether it's comedy, drama, you know, something serious, or if it's something that is going to be, I think the overly produced content, as long as it has some form of human element to it, is going to win all day, every day. And so today I want to talk about offer. I want to talk about how to build an offer that is built around what I call a philosophy. A philosophy is, in essence, what I'm really trying to say is having a specific way of the way you do stuff is one of the most powerful things you can do in terms of getting yourself to stand out. Now, if you aim that towards a person and you solve a problem with that specific way of doing something, I arguably believe that is the one thing that is going to get you to 100K projects. And what do I mean by that? I mean, almost creating your own intellectual property, creating your own creative intellectual property, having a religion almost about how you make something, or a philosophy on how you produce something, how you move the camera, why you do what you do, why do you do it better than anybody else, and getting that documented and getting that into a process, and then wrapping packaging around that so that it has intellectual property, I think arguably is one of the most fastest ways to start winning high-level clients. Now, obviously, we still need to get our positioning right. Positioning is everything. Our own status, our own significance, our own message, having our own packaging in terms of our name, what we do, what we believe. A lot of us don't have any idea what to say on camera in terms of eating our own dog food and actually putting our own content out. And you, as a filmmaker, probably already know that you should be setting up a YouTube channel. You should be putting out content. You should probably know you should be doing more online when it comes to your perspective and your viewpoint and the way you think about stuff. But when we turn the camera on, what happens is we don't know what to say. We just literally do not know what to say. And a lot of this can be solved by developing your own creative religion, your own creative philosophy, your own intellectual creative process, how you make something and why you make something the way you make something, and then having a set of belief around that, and then really digging down on that, right? Like really doubling down to the point where you really have something to say. And I think this is step one. And one of the things that a lot of you, especially you high-end filmmakers, the ones that are sort of like really obsessed with the technical, really like lighting, like how bad my lighting is right now, like you guys do have a way of doing things, but you think it's just basic 101 filming, right? Or you might think that it's not special. But a lot of your philosophy and a lot of your religion around your creative process come from two things. One, style, and the second one, taste. Now, style comes from your values. That how you believe in something or how you see your genre, that I would consider that style. Style is very much attached to what you value. Now, taste is a little bit different. This is the way you like to see things, what kind of music, like all that kind of thing, right? That comes from what inspires you. And I think that is almost getting more and more closer to the religion that you're about to create, or the intellectual property, right? Getting that down and then figuring out how you make stuff and then wrapping that up into packaging is, in my opinion, the number one thing you can do. Now, there's other things that you need to do, and I think having a grounding story or it's some kind of backstory as a child growing up, this is what led me to where I am today, I think is a very powerful thing to do in the form of trust, because what it does is it tells the audience that you're in this for the right reasons, you're not in this for the wrong reasons, you don't have any self-gain interest, you're actually doing this because of a past event that led you to where I am, and that can be one of the hardest stories in the world to tell. And again, if you want help with these sort of things, link in the bio. But if you can think of an event that led you to filmmaking, that led you to that specific person, or led you to the way you do stuff, arguably this can be a very, very good positioning statement. And then the second thing that I think every filmmaker needs is what I call a methodology film. A methodology film is packaging your religion into a process video, explaining why you do the things you do, in terms of the way you do the things you do, and how you do the things you do, and you wrap it into a video that explains the process. And this is like arguably owning like a KFC recipe. You know, KFC was worth billions, that recipe was worth billions. That's kind of what we want. So when people come into your ecosystem, meaning they've been made aware of you, when they come into being aware of you, then they go into consideration. The consideration component is probably where all the money gets made. And a lot of you watching this, if you just focused your attention more on the consideration, you'd help your clients make way more money, because that's where the power is, and plus you could charge a premium. They'll get to offer in a second. But once someone's made aware of you, they're going to go into apples for apples. They're going to look at one videographer and one videographer, or they're going to look at a videographer and then they're going to look at a creative director. And again, language palette is really, really important. How you wrap meaning and packaging and how you describe things. Do you say video or do you say brand story? A lot of that comes into effect in terms of your packaging and how you are perceived in terms of your own perceived value. Very, very important. And so when it comes to offer creation, we need to look at a couple of things. One, we need to look at what is the outcome. Obviously, it's a very obvious thing to say, but we need to start looking at how and where to start building offers. And arguably, like, I think a lot of filmmakers, especially videographers, the ones that are really technically driven, are very much getting sucked into this vortex of doing social media reels or doing social content. And social content is fine, but it's very difficult for a brand to pay a massive premium on like 50K for one reel, unless it's specific and it has like an offer attached to it and there's an end deadline and it's going to create millions. I get it, that can work. However, mainly where I believe we as filmmakers should be pointing our focus is in what I call the consideration part of the customer journey, and it's really becoming an expert within your industry, if you have niched, to understand how the buying cycle works from a psychological point of view. And I think where the filmmakers that are going to really shine and get them 100k projects and 50k projects and 200k projects, the way they're going to get that is by understanding their market customer buying cycle, understanding the behavior of their market, and truly becoming an expert in what they need to do. And I think this is something that we neglect. We just get a call, they ask us for a price, we don't lead, we don't direct, and we just get told basically what to do. But if somebody rings you and asks you to do something, and they're from your industry and you've been working with them for some time, and you have a religion, a philosophy, you have a process, you know how to package stuff, you know how to describe the customer journey to your client, you are going to put yourself in the top 5% of creatives just by simply working on these things. Now, positioning is obviously really important as well, and I want to go back to that because I think this is something that we don't do. I read a study, I think it was like 15 years ago, I think it was from like I Love Marketing, and it was this concept around referrals. Referrals happen because people like to refer if you can make them look good in the process. And I think when it comes to high status individuals, or affluent clients, rich clients, however you want to call it, people with real money, they like to be associated side by side with someone that is also has high perceived value or has really taken care of their brand. And I think we as creative people need to point our focus on ourselves. We need to tell our own story. We need to eat our own dog food. I remember getting told that by a very good friend of mine. He was also very helpful in my business journey. His name was James Sharanko. He literally said to me, "Michael, you don't eat your own dog food." This is when I was very much starting. He told me, he said, you need to eat your own dog food. You need to do the thing that you're selling, you need to own. There was a story of two chefs that were selling like hotel kitchens, and one was a world-class sales rep, but there was this other sales rep that was just average, but he was outperforming everybody in the company. And I believe the story goes something like they hired someone like Zig Ziglar, I can't remember his name, he was like a sales professional, wrote books, everything, and he couldn't figure it out for weeks and weeks and weeks. And what it came down to, the average salesperson that was kicking everybody's ass, it was one thing: he owned some of the products. And this is the punchline, right? The punchline is that we need to own some of the assets or the product that we're actually selling so that we can feel our own effectiveness. Because if we do have a grounding story, a method film, we have our brand set up, we have high-end photography, we're not making videos that are lighting all over the fucking place like this, and we're actually caring about our environment and everything else. And I'm not saying like overly produce your stuff, but what I am saying to you is that if you can, at some degree, show evidence that you are credible, meaning you have been effective. Because it's like this, the point that I'm trying to make is this: if you can create power over someone, to create power over someone, you have to sell something effective. If you can be an industry leader that everybody wants access to, people are going to start to listen to you, pay attention to you. When you put something out or you outreach somebody, they're going to look at the product. That's the first thing they're going to do, is look at that. And if they can see that you're an industry leader, they're going to respond to you, right? And if you mix in a little bit of proof and evidence on top of that, and you're likable, you're going to have a far more higher chance of getting the attention of more high status brands, entrepreneurs, and people that you want to sell that actually have the resources that you're looking to do to build your business. And so that's really, really the first thing. But once they come into your ecosystem, you then need to have something to say. You still need to have a perspective. You still need to have a viewpoint. And a lot of times when we try to put the camera on ourselves, again, I'll say it again, we don't know what to say. We get lost in the minutiae of like, and then we go into this overly performative thing. And this is why I do a lot of these videos like this. I'm a filmmaker, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm creating really bad lighting videos, and sometimes I just shoot from my phone because I just want to get this out. I don't think that we ultimately should care about just overly producing stuff. Yes, we need to look high end. Yes, we need to, obviously, filmmakers do have a little bit more pressure on, say, like someone else that's doing, like a coach, for instance, a consultant, like doesn't have as much pressure as you do watching this. You at home watching this, you probably have like, fuck, I can't put that out because it doesn't look right. The lighting's off, this is off. And then we overly think, like I was doing an interview with one of the filmmakers just recently, and like he couldn't help himself. He kept on saying, move. And I'm like, dude, you need to feel like a client. You need to feel what that experience is feeling like for you, right? You need to just sit in the chair and let me direct you. You've got technical support around you. Be a client. Experience your own thing that you're selling. And I think when we develop something to say, i.e. a philosophy around what we do, it makes it so much easier to design a YouTube channel. It makes it so much easier to design a newsletter. And when you pair newsletter with YouTube, for instance, this is just one mechanism that we talk about, it becomes a nurture engine. So when you do get put in the grey area, which a lot of you will be put in the grey area for the remaining of the year, like you'll go out, you'll do a pitch, and then you just get put in that fucking grey area, and then you're sitting there, and then what happens is that you're like this, like waiting for the answer, and as you're waiting, your power is slowly getting slow, because you don't know what to say. But if you have content that is going out each week on a Wednesday, 6 p.m. Dubai time, on YouTube, paired with a newsletter, you are literally working that client into your ecosystem and into your way of thinking. You know, my definition of branding is owning the key buying word in the mind's eye, right? So for instance, if you have an Apple phone, then Apple did a better job with you. If you have like an Android phone, well then Android did a better job with you, right? So like, if whatever car you drive, same thing. Whatever your dream car is, same thing. Like, whatever you think of when you say luxury car, what's your favorite car, whatever you think of, they did a better job with you. And a lot of that starts at the age of 9, as a child. You know, Mercedes made it very, very clear. We start marketing to you to like 9, 10, 11, 12 with consistency of putting out content. And so if we can adapt some of that philosophy and put that into our business, we're going to have a greater chance of getting out of the grey area, and you're going to convert more. So this is just a freestyle video of me like just talking about like positioning, offer, having your own religion, and just, you know, knuckling down and like another thing that a lot of filmmakers struggle with is choosing a specific person to deal with, or like going into a niche. And the reason that happens is because your identity gets attacked. You literally, like, your identity gets decimated because like you didn't get into filmmaking to be like specializing in dental videos. A lot of you watching, especially some of you higher end guys that really seen yourself getting to Netflix, but that dream of getting to Netflix is so competitive and it's so hard, and there's a lot of money that you could be making just dealing with medium-sized businesses. You know, for a medium-sized business to be doing between 5 and say 15 million, just a small business, for them to spend 250, 300,000 on their content when it's really where all the attention is, to build their trust, to take more market share, to differentiate themselves, for them to raise their perceived value, to create an emotional connection, for them to create them assets to help speed up their sales process, it's like night and day. It is not uncommon for them to spend that. But you've got to be well positioned for this. You've got to have an offer that really sucks them in, because that will speed up your success, reduce your risk, and it will also help you make bigger money, like a lot bigger money. Okay? And ultimately, like, you know, a lot of you are getting a 50k project, and then you're going 3 or 4 months with nothing, and then you get another 50k project, then you go 6 months with nothing, and it's like you're really, like, when you round it all out at 12 months, it's like you're not making that much money. But you know you have the ability to make a lot of money. That's the real thing. You've seen it. If you're one of my ideal clients, the ones that we help get systemized and protect you so you're not going up and down, the ones that we give a client acquisition infrastructure and help you develop your brand and help you develop your positioning so that you can speed up and not waste any time, you're typically that person that's had a very high-end client and then it's disappeared, or you've got a high-end client and you're shitting yourself because you're worried that they're going to cancel on you or they're going to stop spending with you month to month. And I can tell you that there is a system around this that can protect you and your family. And so part of it is being positioned, having a good offer. And the last thing that I haven't really talked about is having a very systematic sales process that you walk them through. I think them 3 things just alone can really transform your success. So I hope this video helped. I have been neglecting this channel for some time now, and I really need to get back into my YouTube. I've been traveling. I'm here in Crete. Let me show you where I am, just for all you people out there. My lighting is really bad, obviously. It's one of the most magical places I've ever been in my life, and I've traveled all over Asia. I just love it. Let me just fix this. Okay. So for those of you that haven't subscribed to my channel, hit the like, hit the comment. I love reading your comments. By the way, my team love reading the comments. Sorry about the lighting. It's not gonna go. Okay, fuck it. Alright. That is all for now. I'll see you in the next video.